story time of the time I almost cut my mother off. Like, cut her off. I would never cut my mom off, but this is the story time of the time she pissed me off more than she's ever pissed me off in my whole life. Me and my mom and my sister grew up, like, she was a single mom, and we were poor, right? We always lived in apartments or townhouses. Like, we'd never owned a house. So at a young age, I realized how poor we were, and it really made me frustrated because I saw, like, how other kids lived, and it made me sad because I watched how hard my mom worked. I realized it really early on. It didn't help that my mom had 2 baby daddies that didn't send child support, so we were just kind of, like, poor. Anyways, when I was younger, I would always do scratch-off tickets. Like, my mom would always buy the Lucky Sevens, and I would just do them and be hoping that I'd win $1 million, and it never really happened. We were very much a scratch-off ticket type of family. Like, one time my mom won $10,000 from a scratch-off when she was really young, so, like, we were just a scratch-off family, you know? One day, my mom decided to buy an actual lottery ticket instead of a scratch-off, and so she came home, like, did her little thing, put the numbers down, and she calls me downstairs, and she's like, I want you to check my scratch-off for me. Like, I want you to see, like, the TV will say what the numbers actually are, and I want you to see, like, if they are right, because I want to see if we won the lottery. This was the year that the lottery was like $10 million, right? Like, an absurd amount of money. I run down the stairs and I'm like, I'm gonna check the lottery numbers. Like, what if we win the lottery? Yay, I love scratch-offs. Take the ticket and I'm watching the little balls roll into the thing telling us what numbers are the lottery winners, and one after the other, they're lining up. And they're starting to line up, and I'm like, we just won, we're about to win the lottery. One thing about me, I can't take a prank. I'm not a prank taker. Like, if you do a prank on me, I'm a terrible sport. I will pull a prank on you, though, but I'm a terrible sport. I don't know what it is. I'm very emotional. I'm just an awful sport. Like, do not fucking prank on me. And then, obviously, all of the numbers line up, and I start screaming, running around the house. We just won the lottery. I'm sobbing my eyes out, so excited. Imagine that. A little girl so excited she just won the lottery so that her mommy doesn't have to work anymore. About 10 minutes after my literal crazy screaming around the house, yay, we can buy a house rampage, my sister and my mother look at me. Oh, I can still feel it. And my sister and my mother look at me and they say, we already knew the lottery numbers. We wrote down the winner so that we could prank you and make you think we won the lottery. I just about lit our house on fire, I swear to God. I actually don't think I've ever been that angry in my life. I literally screamed at them and started sobbing and ran up to my room, and I don't think I talked to them for the rest of the day, and they'd never seen me that angry before. And my sister still talks about it. She actually commented it on my video the other day, which reminded me of it. Yeah, don't fucking prank me, because I'm a terrible sport, and I will cry and scream and never talk to you again.
Storytime about how my date broke into my house and tried to choke me. Disclaimer's not my storytime, send me on Instagram. 2 years ago, I signed up to Hinge. I matched with a really cute guy, lived in my city, drove an expensive car, and was looking for fun. At the time, I was not looking for a relationship, I just wanted to have some fun. It was lust at first sight. We were both attracted to each other and he couldn't keep his hands off me. Now, I did like this, but he was taking it a little bit far. We're sitting at a booth and had some drinks. This is when he kissed me. He did not ask me for permission and he put his hand on my thigh. I let him do it because I knew I was having fun. But then he started inviting himself over to my apartment. I told him that I was definitely not comfortable with him coming over. He made a joke about following me home and coming in and doing whatever he wanted to me. I laughed it off but was creeped out. I told him I got gassy and that I needed to go home. What was about to happen was terrifying. Part 2 is Storytime about how my date broke into my house and tried to choke me. Disclaimers, not my storytime, send me on Instagram. I lied and told him that I was getting gassy and I needed to go home. We say goodbye in the restaurant and he walks me to my car. I drive off and I check if he's following me. No, he wasn't. As soon as I get home, I decide to order pizza because I was still hungry. I mean, I actually was not gassy. While I'm waiting for the pizza to arrive, I run a bath and put my music on as loud as possible. By the way, I live alone and my house is pretty big. I decide to take a quick shower to take my makeup off, and 5 minutes into my shower, my phone starts to ring. It's my date. He says, are you sure you don't want me to come over? You look lonely. I told him, how do you know what I look like? Then he says, just send me your address. I did not. I hung up and blocked him right away. I get out of the shower and I hear the doorbell ring. When I open the door, nobody is there. What happens next is terrifying. Part 2 is Storytime about how my date broke into my house and tried to choke me. I open my front door and nobody is there. Remember, I thought it was the pizza guy. I look closer, and that's when I see a dark figure standing in the corner. Can you imagine how scary that is? My knees instantly started to shake, and that's when I realized it was my date. I told him if he left now, I wouldn't call the cops. Then he runs at me while taking off his belt, puts the belt around my neck and starts squeezing so hard. I almost immediately passed out. I was wearing a bathrobe. He ripped it off of me. Then he said the creepiest thing. I want to see what you look like passed out. Then the doorbell rings. It's the pizza guy. He finally lets go and tells me that he'll be back. I run outside and the pizza guy stays with me until the cops come. Unfortunately, the police never found him. He obviously lied about his name. I'm afraid he's gonna come back for me. What should I do?
Have you ever had a friend that just secretly hates you? Because I have, and it was terrible. Let's call mine Ashley. So we were all like a group of friends in Nashville, and Ashley and I were like really obsessed with each other until one night we all went out and we met this guy named Nate. After the night, we like were FaceTiming, and I was like, oh my god, that Nate guy was so hot, right? And everyone was like, yes, he was so hot, except for Ashley. She was just smiling over in the FaceTime in the corner. So smug as a bug. 2 mornings later, she group FaceTimes us, and she's like, guess whose house I just woke up at? And we were like, oh my god, whose? And she was like, Nate's house. She group FaceTimed us to tell us. That way I couldn't have a reaction, or else I looked crazy, right? So I was silenced. Was I silent or was I silenced? I was silenced. I ran into my roommate's room and I was like, after the FaceTime, and I was like, oh my god, that was weird. That was weird, right? Like, she's a snake. She's a snake. I already knew. Immediately I knew. And she was like, yeah, that was weird. That was so, like, maybe she thought that you were being like casual about thinking Nate was hot, right? And you were kind of joking about it. I knew she was a snake, but I didn't really care about the whole Nate thing, so whatever. He invites us all to a bonfire a couple weeks later, and he wanted to play a board game. He sits next to me and she's across from him, but because he sits next to me, she's looking at me the entire time like this. And then she stands up and she goes and does Nate's dishes in front of all of us. And she was like, I don't really feel like doing a board game when your kitchen is so messy. You could not catch me dead doing a man's dishes in front at a party he's throwing. Oh my god. Oh my god. That's when I was like, babe, you won. You win. I don't know what game this is. I don't want to play. I don't do the dishes. I don't even do my own dishes. I'm not doing his. After that, she really started trying to become besties with my roommate and totally excluded me and everything. I was never invited to literally anything ever, and I would just sit in my room while they would go out, and that sucked. Me and Ashley had the same birthday though, and we still had kind of the same group of friends, and so we had to plan a birthday together, which was actually terrible. At the time, I had a really terrible boyfriend who was really mean to me, who lived in Canada, and I would tell them stories about him, and like it was just like an ongoing joke about how we would break up every other day. And he was coming from Canada to Nashville for my birthday, so he meets all of my friends and he's meeting Ashley, and she comes up to him and he was being charming, of course, he can do that in front of people. She was like, oh my god, you are nothing like Becca described you. Nothing. Like so different than what I expected. Becca? I was like, no, sick, yeah, you have no idea what you just did, because he's definitely gonna push me off a cliff later. He's gonna find a cliff to push me off of, so that was sick. Thanks, Ashley, for real. I grabbed my roommate to take her to the bathroom to tell her what Ashley had just done, and when I come back, my boyfriend grabs me and he's like, okay, Becca, I know it's her birthday and I know she's your friend, but that Ashley girl, she just hit on me while you're in the bathroom. Now that I think about it, I don't blame her. Like, it kind of seems like they were a match made in heaven. I should set them up. So, yeah.
My wife is dead. The best Christmas gift I could have gotten. At the beginning of 2022, I caught my wife having an affair with one of her exes. Our marriage wasn't perfect. I was not the perfect husband, I will admit, but I did my best. Her, I could not say the same. I was forced to confront the reality of who she truly was shortly after I caught her. She illegally evicted me from our shared home, lied to the police to try and get me arrested, tried to get me fired from my job, and tried to turn all of my friends against me. Some of these succeeded, while others did not. She made my life a living hell since the day I asked her for the divorce. The only upside is that we have no kids for her to use as weapons. But I soon found out that her policy of strict birth control with me did not extend to her suitor, as he got her pregnant 5 months ago. I thought maybe this would help speed along the divorce, but it only railed her in efforts to destroy me. On Christmas Eve, my wife and her suitor went to a party where both of them got drunk. I find this fact terrible, as all of her friends knew she was pregnant as well. Her suitor drove them home, a mistake that would cost them both their lives. In the state I live in, our divorce is now considered to never have even started. I will be able to claim her life insurance policy for myself and move back into my home. Her parents called me up distraught yesterday, acting as if the last year had never happened, and offered their full support to my funeral preparations for her. My confusion here was beyond belief, but the apple does not fall far from the tree when it comes to my wife. I told them if they want a funeral, it was coming out of their pockets. I will pay for her to be cremated and deliver her ashes to them in the cheapest urn offered if they desired. They called me horrible and tried to guilt me about her life insurance, but only after 4 minutes on the phone with them, I hung up and blocked every one of her family members. I've already made arrangements to have her stuff hauled off, so my home will be an empty canvas to start my life anew.